Thank you to Kenzie Bruce for his incredibly generous support on Patreon. Purphoros versus the Dragon. We can try and get into some better stuff off the Cathartic Pyre. So yeah, I think we can keep that. Can also gain ourselves a whole bunch of time with Magus of the Moon, if our opponent doesn't immediately scoop to it. Not a card that I would normally play, but 1v1 has become very, very cutthroat, even more than it ever was. So if you can't beat them, join them, get down a snow-covered mountain and pass. And exploration allows them to get into a triome. What do people think of these weird-looking alternate artworks? Like, the art is nice, but they just don't look like Magic cards to me. I don't think there's a single card here that looks like a Magic the Gathering card. Anyway, we draw into a mountain. We could, yeah, still go for Cathartic Pyre, maybe discard Battle Hymn and War Chief. Or maybe Battle Hymn and a land. So it's 2 more lands for our opponent. And an Explore, so really emptying their hand, although they didn't get an additional land out there, just drew a card. Play out the Cathartic Pyre. Okay, managed to get into another land. So I think we're best switching off the lands before our opponent can do any further damage. So that means it is Mountain and Magus of the Moon. They've still got access to greens, so they could go Cultivates and things like that. And Atsushi, the Blazing Sky. Alright, and we get a Lotus Petal, so we'll play out the Mana Vault, play out the Purphoros off the Mana Vault, play the Lotus Petal, play the Forgotten Cave. That comes in untapped, thanks to the fact that it's a basic land. Or thanks to the fact that it's a mountain, I should say, not a basic land. So there we can go for Goblin War Chief. No, I'm going to go for the Goblin Recruiter here instead. We've got a haste enabler available to us. Purphoros going to deal 2 damage. And we can stack the top of our library with goblins here. So I definitely want Krenko Mob Boss. And we'll just leave it there because it would be nice to get into a Skull Clamp or a Wheel or something. So we'll just put the Krenko on top. Alright, our opponent just passing straight through the turn, deciding to hold back their dragon. We are not going to untap the Mana Vault. Drawing into the Krenko. Mana Vault deals a damage to us. So I'll get down the War Chief here first. Can't afford the Krenko, unfortunately. It will only cost us 3 mana and it will have haste next turn. Our opponent knows that it's coming. They're going to exile the top 2 cards if we kill this and swing in with Purphoros, which has now been animated. So I'm actually going to hold back, which is strange for a Purphoros deck. But I want them in top deck mode. Alright, get into another basic. So that puts them on 5 mana. They could then cast Allied Strategies, which is... they have 2 different land types, don't they? Or 3 different land types. They've got the mountains here, green and blue. So 5 cards they go up to. Alright, getting to Legion War Boss as well is really good. So Krenko for 3 mana. Shocking our opponent. Now we will use the Lotus Petal. Get down the Legion War Boss as well. Go through to the beginning of combat step, because that will trigger the Legion War Boss. We'll get out another Goblin, and then thanks to the haste we can now go for Krenko, because we'll get an additional Goblin after the Legion War Boss, and then go through to attacks. So all of these can go wide on our opponent. So still not going to kill off the dragon, but we are going to pile on a whole bunch more damage. They just block one of the Goblin tokens, obviously, so they go down to 13. It's now or never for our opponent, really. They have a Raminap Excavator, so yeah, really riding the coattails of the Blood Moon here. Playing another mountain in the form of Wooded Foothills, and that is a Sarkhan's Unsealing. I mean, there's every chance that they've got a bunch of red dragons in the deck, but tend to get a lot of multicoloured ones in the Wooburg dragon decks. Alright, so that is a Firecat Blitz. Play the Firecat Blitz where X is 2. Then go through to the beginning of combat again. Legion War Boss triggers, making a Goblin. Tap down the Krenko Mob Boss. And there we see a whole bunch of Purphoros triggers on the stack, and that takes them down. So exactly how we want our Purphoros deck to run. Purphoros up against Damia this time, and we've got a turn 2 Purphoros, assuming that our opponent doesn't counter it. They're on the play, so they'll be able to get up to 2 lands. We'll keep that and just try to get the Purphoros down. Damia starts the game off with a Leyline of Abundance. And they play a green land here, so they might have a Nature's Claim. I'm going to hold off on the Mana Vault. Draw into Torbran. Yeah, I'll just drop a mountain and then we can go Mana Vault into Purphoros next turn. And then a Myriad Landscape, so looks fairly confident that we're going to be able to get down the Purphoros here. Draw into a Valakut, so if I'd played the Mana Vault last turn, we could have got that tap land out of the way. But I think we've done the right thing here. Still don't know if they've got a Nature's Claim. So play the Mana Vault and play our Purphoros. Managed to get that down, so pretty sure that we'll be likely keeping that in play unless our opponent has Bounce. Don't often see there's Deglamour and another one. 2 mana green spells that shuffle indestructible artifacts and enchantments away. Well, any artifact and enchantment, but it's good for getting rid of indestructible ones. A Dark Depth, so are we to assume that this is a Lands Matter deck? Noteworthy that this doesn't tap for mana, so they're not going to be able to crack the Myriad Landscape either. So getting pinged for 1 by the Mana Vault, we do get into another land, so that tempts me to go for, instead of the Dragon Fodder, the Lightning Greaves this turn, then we can drop the Krenko. Either way, we're getting down a tap land because we don't have a 3-drop. And yeah, I think I'll go after the Lightning Greaves here. Well, I'm hoping we don't have another opponent who's stuck on mana. Another land for us is pretty lucky, we don't have very many of those in the deck. 32 I think it is, get down the Krenko. Our opponent will get shocked for the first time by the Purphoros. Shroud and Haste onto Krenko. Tap the Krenko down immediately. Shock our opponent again, might as well put Haste on this Goblin token, don't think they're going to do anything about Krenko, they've had plenty of time. So swing in with the Goblin token. If we do that a couple of times then it does equate to 1 shock from the Purphoros. And all of the damage is going to matter in this deck, especially if our opponent manages to get going at some point, and Damia definitely wants to be getting into the late game. There's a command tower for them, so they've got access to all the colours they might need, especially after cracking the landscape. So not even holding up priority, they're just cracking the Myriad Landscape right now. Not going to bother untapping the Mana Vault here. Wow, 32 lands and can't believe we're drawing into this many of them. Luckily we've got plenty to do here. We'll be able to get down at Chandra's Incinerator next turn. As for now, I think we just start going even crazier with Torbran. We'll have the Valakut online next turn as well. Tap down the Krenko. We've actually just animated the Purphoros thanks to all the pips from Torbran. So that was 4 damage per goblin that came in. Thanks to the Krenko, we will turn everything in sideways here, deal a further 7 damage to our opponent. Oh, actually it's +2 per creature, so it's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 damage to them here. Torbran going to do a lot of work for us. So 8 commander damage, they go down to 12. They really need a board wipe here. Springbloom Druid is the last thing they need. All we ultimately do here is tap down the Krenko. It will be 4 damage per goblin that comes in. So that was a total of 16 damage. Our opponent goes straight down to 0, actually -2 after that Purphoros resolves. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get an interactive game at some point. I will try one last time. Up against Tiamat this time, and I bet this is the game where we struggle to get into lands. A 1-lander will have to have as mulligan. 2-lander, a turn 1 Purphoros, thanks to the Jeweled Lotus. Turn 2 Loyal Apprentice, that looks pretty good. Get rid of the Price of Glory. I'll just have to hope that my opponent doesn't want to interact too much on our turn. We are on the draw as well. Bloodstained Mire from our opponent. We do manage to get into another land, so I don't mind that. Having 3 is pretty good. Play out the Jeweled Lotus and sacrifice that for red mana straight into our commander. Yet another land. That is the theme of this video, isn't it? They've got access to Jund mana now. Yeah, I think we just still go for the Loyal Apprentice. If they've got Assassin's Trophy or something, then so be it. So 2 damage to my opponent with the Purphoros, and Loyal Apprentice will have a token enter. That's another 2 damage. And then we deal a further 3 damage by swinging in. So by turn 2 already got them down to 32. Wondering if we should use the Chaos Warp on our own token there. We'll see what happens over the course of the next few turns. They're doing something. That is an Urza's Incubator, so it might be worth doing the Chaos Warp on that, although we might end up with a dragon in play. They could play a 6-drop next turn. And another mountain for us. So do we go Chaos Warp, or do we pump with the Purphoros. Made another Thopter at the beginning of combat. We swing in for 4 damage after dealing the 2 damage from Purphoros. They go down to 26. And I think we just hope that we don't get them into a dragon here. But of course we do. And of all the dragons, it's a Silumgar the Drifting Death. So maybe we will see over the course of the next turn or two what we... Do you just reveal the top card? Yeah, it's the top card, so we'll see next turn if we should have gone for the Chaos Warp onto a token. If it's a land, then I don't really mind. Replacing the Incubator with a Herald's Horn, and we're going to lose our creatures here. Alright, getting into a Goblin Matron wouldn't have been the worst off the Chaos Warp. I would have hoped for a creature that could have got out a load of tokens though. So maybe it's just Krenko again here. We're not going to be able to keep any 1 toughness things in play. Krenko has 3 toughness, so we might maybe be able to do something with it. So just decided on the Krenko mob boss again simply because it's got 3 power and we have the mana for it. Revealing the top card to us is a Scion of Draco. They've got both Yavimaya and Urborg in play now, so all of their lands are swamps and forests. Played out the Savage Ventmaw, so that'll be 6 extra mana next turn. They can afford to get down the Scion of Draco, because they've got every basic land type. Oh no, they don't have a plains yet, but can still afford that, I think. Okay, a Kerkeep. Makes sense to get that down. Just going to have to hope that our opponent doesn't get a hasty dragon on the go, because there'll be -2/-2 on all of our stuff next turn. No hasty dragons, so not going to get rid of the Krenko. They will, however, get 6 mana. And, there we see the Dragon. So getting into some pretty damn good cards here. I wonder how well we would have done if it wasn't for the Chaos Warp. We would have... Yeah, they would have been a turn behind on the Silumgar, because they still would have drawn into it. But they would have had to cast it, so they would have been a turn behind on pretty much everything here. They get down the Scion of Draco. So see what we draw. Getting into that Price of Glory again, annoyingly. So we could go Kerkeep. Make a Kobold token. Make a Goblin token with Krenko. That would be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 creatures. It's still not enough for the chain reaction, so... Yeah, I mean, we just go Krenko here. We're not going to be blocking anyway. And we do lose the creature, but at least we get a shock in there. And I don't see that the Price of Glory is going to be all that much use to us with our opponent only having 1 card in hand. So I'll just hold up the Kerkeep for after the board's been wiped. Nothing revealed with the Herald's Horn, so I'll assume that they didn't get into a dragon there. So playing out their commander, Tiamat. This is the best 5-colour dragon commander in my opinion. Doesn't get anywhere near the respect it should do, because everyone always wants to rave about the Dragon. But Tiamat is card advantage for them here. I imagine they'll refill their hand if they've built the deck correctly. So now they've got access to Old Gnawbone, Dramoka, Earthquake Dragon, Ancient Silver Dragon, and the Mirim. So some really, really good dragons there. So it is -4/-4 on all of our stuff thanks to the Silumgar, Dragon, draw that many cards, permanent onto the battlefield, and 6 mana from Savage Ventmaw. They're not going to have enough creatures for our chain reaction to be relevant, unfortunately. Although maybe they will. They cheated in the Old Gnawbone there, and they deal a bunch of damage, so that makes a load of treasures. Hopefully they'll overextend, so they get a massive amount of tokens there. That is 21 treasures. We go down to 6, so if we can't wipe the board, we just lose next turn. We play a Swamp. Just going to make a Kobold token with the Kerkeep so that I can pass priority. Our opponent playing out their Mirim. Then playing the Kami War. Exile a non-land permanent an opponent controls. Well, that's the end of our game. Don't really see what we could have got into anyway there. I don't think we could have dealt 31 damage to them. Playing out the Ancient Silver Dragon. And obviously getting 2 of those thanks to the Mirim. Ojitai, Soul of Winter, which we didn't know about. They've got 2 cards revealed here. It is the Dramoka, and now they play the Earthquake Dragon. So having some fun here, but completely overextending the Dragon Lord Dramoka. Emptying their hand, they go down to 3 cards in hand, but they revealed all the... they played all the revealed dragons to us. So there is a Jeska's Will. We can I doubt we'll survive over the next few turns, but we can try and get our commander out first before casting that. So this turn it is a chain reaction, and that, I don't know how many creatures are in play, but I'm pretty sure it's enough to take out even the Ur Dragon. Yep, wiping the board. The Kami gonna go up to level 2 here. We'll have to discard a card. Fine, discarding. The Price of Glory. Didn't reveal anything on the Herald's Horn again. So all they really have to do here is play out the Tiamat again, and we're not going to be able to do anything about it. We'll just take 7 commander damage. I think their commander is 7 power. Yes, it is. So out comes the Tiamat once more. So refilling the hand again, as you would expect with Tiamat. Skyline Depot, Dragonlord Kolaghan, Lathlis, Orjitai, and Kura. I think they snuck out a mana crypt there as well. So managing to throw down the Dragonlord Kolaghan, which gives other creatures you control haste, so get to see a cool Tiamat game here, even though there were some fast and non-interactive Purphoros games. But I'll use this as a tester as usual to see if anyone wants to see any more Purphoros games. Be sure to let me know in the comments if you would. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.